The 7 habits of highly ineffective people. The 7 habits of highly ineffective people. That is what we're going to talk about today. But, first, please send your validation my way so that I can inhale it into my nostrils and down to the depths of my soul. Send said validation by subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so that you can get brand new videos the moment they come out. All other platforms, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, subscribe, share with your friends, like the post, video, whatever the platform wants you to do to send me validation. Please do it. Okay, the 7 habits of highly ineffective people. So if you've been in the self-help space or have been studying self-improvement for any length of time, you've heard of the classic book by Stephen Covey, and it's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the greatest books of all time, sold millions of copies. Great book, you should go read that. But I wanted to do something a little snarky. I wanted to do a play on that concept and talk about the habits of ineffective people, right? So in another video, which I'll actually link to, I just literally talked about the idea of becoming successful by juxtaposing yourself against people that you do not want to be like. It is much easier to use the process of inversion to figure out what it takes to not be successful and avoid doing those things than it is to try to figure out the absolute recipe to success. There's just too many variables involved to know exactly how to be successful. But there are definitive, proven frameworks for how to be an abject failure in life, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Habit number 1, obsess over the news. I hammer on the idea that the news makes you dumb. The news makes you ill-informed. It does not make you informed. I know I get a lot of pushback on this. I know I get quite a bit of disagreement on this, but this is my stance. And I'm not saying that you don't need to be informed about anything at all whatsoever. What I'm talking about is this over-obsession with the news that ties into this narrative pushed by the media pundits, political pundits, politicians, that you are helpless to change your situation, that you live in a world of sadness, chaos, outrage, victimhood. They paint this narrative because they need your eyeballs focused on them. They need your vote. They need you to feel this sense of learned helplessness in order to keep the institution moving forward. So I'm not saying don't watch the news altogether, but do not become one of these people who their life is centered around politics. Their life is centered around the news. They could be spending that time working on themselves, and the weird, perverse equation that they're making in their head makes no sense. They would rather focus on trying to change the entire world and structure of society itself than to just change their own life. Change the entire structure of society, or just change your own life? Change the world, revamp the institutions of society that have existed forever, destroy the oligarchy, get rid of the robber barons? Do you think that is going to happen? Or is it a lot easier and more likely to get a successful outcome by simply focusing on your situation? Why do people overly obsess about the news? Because they feel no control over their own lives. They cannot exert their own will over their own reality, so they turn to focusing outwards because that's the only thing that they can do. So stop watching the news. If you want to be more effective, focus on yourself. Habit number 2, they worry about dumb shit. They worry about things that are out of their control. This is maybe number 1. They focus on things that they can't change. And we all know that this is not a good thing to do. But again, we do this as a coping mechanism. We do this because we cannot exert will over our reality. So what do people worry about? They worry about what they look like. I'm a black male. There's a lot of black people who feel like by the nature of the color of their skin, they can't be successful in life. And the funny thing is, in my own, social circle, I am friends with tons of black men who are very successful, college educated, entrepreneurs out there doing their thing. I go on the internet and I interact with people of color, all orientations who are very successful. They're bloggers, they're in real estate, they're in marketing, e-commerce. My blogging mentor, John Morrow, is paralyzed from the neck down. I've taken business courses from a woman in Saudi Arabia, not exactly the most female-friendly place. She runs a 7-figure online business. My business coach is a woman, and I sought her out not because of what she looked like, but because she was a beast at sales and marketing and business and knew what the heck she was talking about. And that's the only criteria that I need to work with somebody, right? So all of these people could have, used their immutable characteristics as an excuse to not go after their dreams. And a lot of people do that. And I'm not saying that there are not challenges present with some situations that are outside of your control, especially things like what you look like. Don't get the message twisted. I understand that those are factors, but are you going to just quit? Are you going to throw in the towel just because you have certain disadvantages? And also keep in mind that you have advantages to your situation as well. We all have our ups and downs, our advantages and disadvantages. So you have to focus on the ones that are advantageous and forget about the things that you cannot control. Habit number 3, spending too much time putting your focus on other people, both in a positive and negative way. So the obvious one is negative, being jealous of the rich, being jealous of people in your social circle, being jealous of people you feel like is more successful, having envy for their situations. Comparing yourself to other people, it's just useless, futile exercise. And we all know this, but we do this again. Why? Coping mechanism. These all come back to the same origin point, right? Focusing on other people isn't going to help you move your situation forward. And envy just manifests itself in so many toxic ways, and it just sends so many subconscious signals to you that you really don't care about yourself. And it's just poisonous to feel that way. And another thing I mentioned is also being overly identified on the positive with the accomplishments of other people, right? So a classic example of this is sports teams. I watch sports, I love sports, but I'm not on the field. I'm not, my favorite team is the Green Bay Packers, but I don't say we. I'm watching the Green Bay Packers. I'm not on the team. I'm not in training camp. I'm not in mini camp. I'm not watching film. They're on the team. I don't overly identify with sports. I don't overly identify with what celebrities are doing. If you hear often in conversation, people are talking about what? Sports they like, entertainment, shows that other people created, successful things that other people have created, celebrities, successful people who have paved their own lane. And if you hear a lot of conversations, oftentimes it'll be almost nothing about the accomplishments of the people in the conversation. Like, people orient their lives around the accomplishments or envy of other people instead of worrying about themselves. So really, all these things, what not to do, are going back to the origin point of just focusing on yourself, taking responsibility for your own life, controlling your own situation so that you can be successful. The next habit of highly ineffective people is focusing on the wrong parts of a project. Now, what do I mean by this? This is very prevalent with blogging, creative, podcasts, things like that. Everyone's worried about the wrong part of the project. Take, for example, YouTube. Right now, I'm shooting this video in 4K resolution with a $1,500 camera and an $800 lens, and I have lighting set up, and I have all of this fanciness that is now part of my videos. I have editing software where I am progressively getting better at making cool transitions and adding graphics and everything like that. But how did I start this YouTube channel? I opened my webcam and I just started shooting videos. I'm 90 videos in, and there are people who are just getting started with YouTube who are way overly focused on the production quality. Like, who cares about the production quality if you're only putting out 2 videos, right? There's a telltale sign of a beginner, especially in creative mediums, where the packaging is really good, but it's too good for how new they are. It tells me that they're focusing on the window dressing instead of the actual content of what they're doing. This is a writer who has an amazing website, but they only have 3 blog posts on their website. This is somebody who buys business cards and sets up an LLC before they've made a dime, when they should just go on LinkedIn and be sourcing and trying to get clients, trying to get customers, money, right? So Austin Kleon has a saying, a lot of people want to be the noun, but they don't want to do the verb. They want to be a writer, but they don't want to write. They want to be a YouTuber, but they don't want to shoot videos. So this is just a very, very prevalent habit of ineffective people, is that they focus on almost anything but doing the actual meat of what it takes to be successful. So don't be like this person. Be like me. Not saying that I'm great, but I have the insight and the experience to understand that diving in and figuring out the window dressing later is almost always better than doing it the other way around. The next habit, kind of a corollary to the one I just mentioned, is the idea of waiting for inspiration to strike, waiting for the muse to come and tap you on the shoulder and make you follow your dreams. There's no, some people maybe have a flash of creative genius, but for the most part, just gotta do the work. Just gotta do the work. Quit waiting. Everyone's waiting for a neon green sign to tell them to start getting started on their passion. They're waiting on the perfect moment. They're waiting to get their freaking ducks in a row. I hate those ducks. Those gosh darn ducks. I gotta get my ducks in a row. I need more money, more resources. No, you don't. Quit being lazy. You are lazy. You don't believe in yourself, and you are just afraid of the uncertainty that comes with getting started. But nobody can alleviate that stuff for you. There are certain lessons that you can only learn by doing the work. I'm sorry. There's nothing that I can tell you that will help you understand the lessons that come from doing the work. It's impossible for me to give you certain insights that you can only gain through experience. So get started. Don't be ineffective. Don't be one of those people who is just sitting around waiting for passion to fall in their lap. That's not how passion works. You get good at something first, and then the passion comes. The next habit, it's called having fun. I'm not one of those gurus who tells you that you need to abstain from all forms of escapism at all time. I go out, I drink alcohol. I even smoke a little weed sometimes, maybe some other stuff. I spend time with friends. I have hobbies that don't make money. I'm not a self-improvement robot who spends all of my time working, but guess what? I spend the vast majority of my time doing productive activities. It's like the 80-20 rule in reverse. I spend 80% of my time working, 80% of my time doing things to make my body healthier, 80% of my time educating myself to become smarter. And then after that, at the end of the day, even on weekends, I will work to begin the day. And, good advice for weekends. You could wake up at 8 a.m., work for 8 hours, and still have your afternoons and nights, my friend. But no, everyone, I gotta unwind, I gotta relax, what are you unwinding and relaxing for? What are you rewarding yourself for? If you're not in the place where you want to be in life, you should not be rewarding yourself for that. You're creating a bad feedback loop system where you're rewarding yourself for living under your potential. You're doing enough on the weekends and after work just to numb yourself enough just to get back on the horse so you can go through and do it again. I always joke that the societal overlords would have you work 7 days a week if they thought it would work, but they need you to delude yourself enough to go back and do the same stuff again. So they let you have those weekends to reset your clock, numb yourself so that you can go back and go through the grind, right? There's nothing wrong with escapism, but it's just like the advice they give you for the forms of escapism. Going out and having 2 or 3 cocktails, it's not a big deal. But having 12 of them may do a little harm. Moderation. Everyone makes this excuse that they don't have time to live their dreams. They don't have resources to live their dreams. But if we just added up all the time on the weekends they spent doing BS, if we add all the money they've spent on movies, TV, eating out, drinks, buying clothes they don't need, buying cars they don't need, buying entire homes they don't need, and we took all that money and time and resources that they wasted, we'd come to find that they would have more than enough capital and resources to start their thing. So again, all these are basically just forms of delusion that we use to justify our situations, to cope. But you have to get out of that coping paradigm and move to a paradigm where you are investing in yourself and doing what you can to make your life better. And the last habit of ineffective people is telling themselves the biggest lie ever. And all of these other habits are basically a manifestation of that number one lie. It's the lie that you don't want more for your life. On the one hand, it's funny, people always tell me that I'm too ambitious, that I'm too outcome driven and desire driven, but I've probably spent more time working on my spiritual contentment than all of these people combined. I meditate every day. I journal every day. I have studied Eastern philosophy and Zen Buddhism to an extent way beyond what the quote-unquote content people have, right? So everyone tells themselves this lie, I'm content with what I have. No, you're not. Let's call a spade a spade. You don't have to become rich, drive a Lamborghini, be a millionaire, live in a mansion, have a yacht, and be famous. I'm not saying that. But your version of your ideal life is probably orders of magnitude higher than what you're living right now. And you're doing yourself a disservice by not going for it, by telling yourself the lie that you don't want more. And really what I've come to understand is, money really doesn't make you happy. Success doesn't really make you happy. Fame doesn't make you happy. Toys doesn't make you happy. What does make you happy is the process of pushing yourself to get to a place where you haven't been before. That's what really makes you feel good. Like, that's why I started this channel. I have kind of reached not a peak in my writing career. I have a lot left to go in my writing career, but like now writing pays my bills and I have a solidified fan base, so there's a foundation. So my next instinct was to jump in and start all over with 0.0 subscribers on YouTube and try to build something up again just because it's fun. You learn so much about yourself. You think you know yourself, but until you push yourself to become successful, you will never really understand what's going on inside of your mind, your heart, and your spirit. So most people they miss out on the greatest part of life, mastering yourself. And you're lying to yourself if you don't think mastery in some capacity shouldn't be a part of your life. It definitely should. So yeah, that's the number one habit of highly ineffective people, is constantly lying to themselves and telling themselves they don't want more. You might as well just admit it. You have that deep inner voice in your mind anyways, and it's not going away. You can lie to yourself all you want, but those feelings are still going to be there. So stop the ineffective habit of lying to yourself and start doing what you can to make your life better. Okay, Real Help. This is the new book. Grab the book. It has been a number one new release. It has sold 1,000 copies in the first 2 weeks. I'm very happy with it. Buy the book because it'll make your life better. A link to that is going to be below. Also, check out the other links. Follow me. Follow me on Instagram in particular because it shows you a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. It shows you how I get the work done, how my work day and process looks like. So if you're looking for those in-depth insights, that is the place to find them. All other platforms, please like, comment, subscribe, share, love. I will see you on the next video.